When we think about science in lower elementary, we're usually talking about geography. And we take geography in a bunch of different ways. We have the sun and earth, right? How the movements of the earth and the planets in our solar system, how it works together and what impact it has. We talk about nature of the elements, how liquids, solids, and gases work. And there's lots of experiments in there, which are just the favorite thing ever in a elementary classroom. If you want a elementary child to be really happy, you just give them an experiment on solids, liquids, and gases, and they're all in. We have work of air, we have work of water, and we have the human component, right? Humans are a big part of geography. There's trade, there's consumption, there's the movement of produce, and so we have a whole big area of human geography as well.
And what's especially cool is that the children don't necessarily see it along those lines like we do as an adult. They just come to school, they observe something happen in nature, and they want to explore it further, right? So the way that the sun, its path along the sky, seems to move throughout the year. Right now it's January, so its path is way to the south for us. They notice that. The days are shorter, the days are going to start to get longer. We have lessons to show them that visually in front of them, hands-on. From a concept standpoint, we call it like the seasons work chart. How does the seasons work? We talk about, like you said, the sun and the earth, right? How does the sun relate to the earth? More like, how does the earth relate to the sun? Because the earth is the thing that is now tilting in different directions away from the sun and back towards the sun. We can model that physically with like a lamp and a globe. I see that happening all the time with your children in the hallway.
They love that. It's also a fun imagination work because in the summer and the winter, there are parts of the world where the sun never sets or the sun never rises. And so there could be a period of time where this part of the earth is in complete darkness. And the children have to imagine what that would be like, right? If you had no sunrise and if it was just dark, and what is the temperature going to be? And then the flip side of that is when it's kind of an eternal summer. What does that feel like and what does that look like? And that inspires a lot of imagination and creativity.
And while our curriculum is kind of defined for us, like we basically have lessons that we are tasked to give the child on a yearly basis, we get to go over these things 3 times in a lower elementary classroom with the child as they move from the first year to the second year and the third year in the classroom. There's more depth every time they hear about the sun and the earth. Now for the first time, they won't be maybe getting that there's a physical relationship, a physical action that you do, sun and the earth. But by the time they're in the third year, they're studying the angle of the sun, they're studying the angle of the Earth's axis, they're studying where are the equators, where are the lines of longitude, where are the lines of latitude, and how does that relate to the sun and the earth. It also goes into seasons, and that has to relate to weather patterns. It has to relate to, like you said, temperature. The depth of information that the children can get by the time they finish their third year is incredible. And I love coming to school every day because I get to watch that happen, right? I get to watch them, rediscover things year after year, whereas I only have to, in a traditional setting, I would only get to teach it one time in one way. But with 3 different ages in the classroom, I can teach sun and earth at 3 different levels or any, spectrum of levels based on the child's interests. I think the experiments are fascinating. It takes a lot of independence for the children to be able to complete these experiments. The environment we have to set up to support that independence. It doesn't always work the first time. It definitely can get messy, and that's where I have to have a lot of patience. I'm sure you do too.
That's another fun thing about the experiments, though, is it really helps with sequencing. In order to do an experiment correctly, you have to first get all of your materials. And if you forget one, then that could end up making the experiment not work right. Then you have to actually complete the experiment in the proper steps. And then when it's all done, you have to clean it up. And then the clean things have to go back where you found them. And so there's all of these steps. It's this huge process to do something that to an adult might seem simple, but to a 6-year-old, it's the first time they've had access to something sticky like molasses or oil or these things that aren't going to cause any harm if they spill all over the table and floor, but are a huge mess to clean up if they're not treated with a lot of care. And so that's a whole other learning experience for them of dealing with a lot of these different materials and these experiments.
But they get to learn then by doing that. So you learn by failing. You also learn by getting it right at the end, and then you can move on to the next experiment. The things that we might as adults see as simple, the children see as very complex, and so we have to give them a lot of time and a lot of space. Again, the 3 years is so
and a lot of trust.
so cool to have them for that time, and in the end, I think they walk away from a school year really understanding how the earth works, how geography works, and hopefully they have this scientific approach to everything that they do.